On the vibrant planet of Zephyria, the sun shone brightly, casting colorful lights across the bustling city. It was a special day, as all the different alien species gathered to celebrate a great victory over a rival faction. The air was filled with excitement, laughter, and the sweet smell of delicious food. Banners hung high, painted in bright colors, and music echoed through the streets. The main square was packed with aliens of all shapes and sizes. There were tall, blue-skinned beings with long limbs, small green creatures with big eyes, and even fluffy pink creatures that bounced around happily. Each species had come to show their unity and strength. They believed that together they were unstoppable. At the center of the square, a grand stage was set up. The leaders of each species stood proudly, ready to give speeches. The tallest leader, a giant named Zorath, stepped forward. He was covered in shining armor that glimmered in the sun. His voice boomed over the crowd as he began to speak. "Today we celebrate our victory. We have shown our enemies that we are powerful and brave. No one can defeat us." His words sparked cheers from the crowd. The aliens waved their flags, and some even danced with joy. As the celebration continued, Zorath called for a feast. Tables were filled with food from every corner of Zephyria. There were glowing fruits, roasted meats, and strange delicacies that made the aliens lick their lips in delight. Everyone was happy, enjoying the treats and sharing stories of their bravery in battle. But amidst the laughter, an old alien named Varek stood quietly in the back. He was thin and frail, with deep lines on his face that told stories of many battles. His gray skin contrasted with the bright colors of the celebration. Varek had seen many wars and knew the dangers of underestimating an enemy. As the feast began, he stepped forward, raising his hand to quiet the crowd. "Listen," he called out, his voice shaking but clear. "I have a warning for you all. We may have won this battle, but do not forget the humans. They are not as weak as you think." The crowd fell silent, and many looked at him with confusion. Zorath laughed, shaking his head. "Humans? They are nothing. We have defeated their kind before. Why should we worry about them now?" Varek frowned but pressed on. "Long ago, humans fought fiercely. They have a spirit that cannot be easily broken. Do not let your pride blind you." But the crowd began to murmur, and Zorath waved his hand dismissively. "This is a day of joy. We must celebrate our strength and unity. The humans are in the past, forgotten and weak. Let us focus on our victory." The crowd cheered again, and the music resumed, drowning out Varek's warnings. He sighed and stepped back, feeling the weight of his words hanging in the air. As the festivities continued, the aliens danced and sang, feeling invincible. They did not realize that their laughter could soon turn to fear. As night fell, the stars sparkled in the sky, and the celebration reached its peak. Fireworks lit up the darkness, creating stunning displays of color. The aliens cheered and danced, feeling safe and powerful. They believed that nothing could challenge them now. But in the silence of space, a fleet of ships traveled fast towards Zephyria. Each ship carried humans, fierce and determined. They had heard of the aliens' victory and felt the need to respond. The humans were coming, ready to show that they were far from forgotten. Meanwhile, the aliens partied on, unaware of the danger approaching. Varek looked up at the stars, a sense of unease creeping over him. He knew something was coming, something that would change everything. But for now, the celebrations continued, filled with joy, laughter, and the blind hope of a future that seemed bright. As the night wore on, the aliens reveled in their victory, oblivious to the shadows lurking just beyond their world. The celebration on Zephyria continued late into the night. Colorful lights filled the square, and laughter echoed through the streets. However, amidst the joy, something unusual was happening in the vastness of space. A fleet of human ships was approaching, their engines humming softly as they traveled through the stars. Little did the aliens know, their party was about to take an unexpected turn. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, the alien leaders gathered to discuss the events of the previous night. Zorath stood at the front, still glowing from the excitement of the celebration. He felt confident and proud, ready to continue boasting about their victory. However, an unexpected buzz interrupted their discussions. "Attention! Attention!" shouted a young alien named Kira, who was monitoring the communication systems. Her green skin shimmered in the morning light as she rushed into the meeting room. "We're receiving strange signals from the northern skies." Zorath furrowed his brow. "What do you mean by strange signals?" "We are celebrating our victory. There is no need to worry about anything else." But Kira was determined. These signals are unlike anything we have heard before. They seem to be coming from Earth. She looked around at the leaders, trying to gauge their reactions. The room fell silent. The leaders exchanged nervous glances, their confidence beginning to fade. Varek, who had stood quietly in the corner, stepped forward. "This is what I warned you about. We should pay attention to these signals. Humans are clever, and they may have found a way to reach us." Zorath rolled his eyes, trying to shake off the old alien's warnings. "We have no reason to fear humans. We defeated them before. They are weak and they cannot challenge us now," Kira interjected. "But what if they are sending a distress signal? We could be ignoring something important." The debate heated up, with some leaders siding with Kira and others supporting Zorath's dismissal. The argument echoed through the chamber, creating a tension that hung heavy in the air. Finally, Zorath raised his hand, demanding silence. "We will investigate these signals. But know this. If they are merely cries for help, we will show them the same mercy they showed us in the past," he declared. With that, Kira and a team of scientists rushed to the communication station, eager to decode the signals. They worked tirelessly, fingers flying over the controls as they pieced together the strange patterns coming from the stars. After a long hour of intense focus, Kira finally shouted, "I've got it! The signals are calling for help! They are warning us that a human fleet is approaching!" The room erupted in chaos. Leaders shouted in confusion, some angry, others frightened. Zorath, feeling the pressure, attempted to regain control. "We are powerful! We can handle anything that comes our way! Gather our forces!" Varek shook his head, worry etched on his face. "It is not just about power. The humans have learned from their past. They have evolved. We cannot underestimate them." As the leaders argued, Kira continued to analyze the signals. "The humans are coming in large numbers. Their fleet is well prepared, and they seem determined. They are not here for peace. We must prepare for the worst." The urgency in her voice pierced through the noise, forcing the leaders to listen. Zorath finally nodded, realizing the seriousness of the situation. "Very well. Let's get our ships ready. We must defend our planet." As they hurried to prepare for battle, the aliens looked up at the sky. The once bright and cheerful atmosphere had changed. The air was thick with tension, and the joyful celebration felt like a distant memory. Varek stood quietly, a deep sense of foreboding filling him. He had seen battles before, and he knew the cost of underestimating an enemy. Outside, the skies were clear, but the peaceful dawn was about to be shattered. The human ships, sleek and powerful, were getting closer. Each ship carried brave humans, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had heard tales of the aliens' victory and were determined to respond. Back in the control room, Kira continued to monitor the signals, her heart racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to happen. The aliens might have celebrated their past victories, but the humans were coming, and this time, things would be different. As the day went on, the tension grew. The once joyous atmosphere had turned into a serious alert. The aliens prepared their defenses, but deep down, they were haunted by the old aliens' words. Could they truly face the challenge that was approaching? The sun rose high over Zephyria, casting a bright light on the bustling preparations of the alien forces. The celebration that had filled the city just a day before now seemed like a distant memory. Instead of laughter and music, the air was thick with tension and worry. The leaders, determined to defend their planet, gathered their fleets for the upcoming battle against the humans. In the command center, Kira monitored the sky, her eyes glued to the screens showing the incoming human ships. The room was filled with scientists and soldiers, each one anxious and ready for action. Zorath paced back and forth, his armor clanking with each step. "Are they here yet?" Zorath asked, his voice a mixture of impatience and excitement. "Not yet, but they are close," Kira replied, her fingers moving quickly across the controls. "We can see their ships entering our atmosphere now." Zorath's heart raced. He had always thought humans were weak, but as the moments passed, doubt began to creep in. "Prepare our weapons. We will show them our strength." Outside, the aliens gathered at the edges of the city, looking up at the sky. Some were armed and ready to fight, while others watched in fear, hoping that their leaders could protect them. The atmosphere was electric, a mix of anticipation and dread. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the air. The human ships broke through the clouds, sleek and shiny like silver arrows. They moved swiftly, flying in perfect formation, their engines humming powerfully. The aliens stared in awe and disbelief, feeling the weight of their previous underestimations. "Look at them!" Kira exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise. "They are unlike anything we imagined." Zorath clenched his fists, his confidence wavering. "They may look impressive, but we are ready. We will fight for our home." As the human fleet descended, the aliens prepared for battle. Soldiers took their positions, and ships readied their weapons. The tension in the air was palpable, and the once lively city fell silent, all eyes fixed on the approaching threat. The humans began to broadcast a message, their voices ringing out clear and strong. "This is Captain Miles of the United Earth Fleet. We come in peace, but we are here to protect our own. Stand down, and we can discuss this matter calmly." The alien leaders exchanged glances, confusion and fear evident in their expressions. Zorath stepped forward, his voice booming in response. "We do not fear you. You come to our planet uninvited, and we will defend ourselves." The humans, undeterred, continued to speak through the comms. "We only wish to talk. Our past battles are behind us. We have come to warn you of a greater threat." The aliens were taken aback. What could be worse than humans? They had just celebrated their victory, believing themselves invincible. Now, faced with this new reality, doubt began to settle in. Kira turned to Zorath, her voice trembling. "What if they are telling the truth? What if there really is a greater threat out there?" Zorath hesitated, the weight of the situation heavy on his shoulders. "We cannot trust them. They could be trying to trick us." But Varek, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "We must listen. The humans are brave and clever. If they say there is a threat, we should hear them out." The humans continued their plea, their voices filled with urgency. "We need to work together. We have information about a powerful enemy that seeks to destroy both our races." Finally, Zorath took a deep breath, feeling the pressure of leadership. "Very well. We will allow you to land, but know this, if you betray us, we will fight." With that, the humans descended toward the landing zone. The aliens watched in silence, the once bright day overshadowed by uncertainty. As the human ships touched down, a ramp lowered, revealing a group of humans in sleek uniforms. They stepped out cautiously, their faces serious but determined. The moment of truth had come. Both sides stared at each other, sizing up their potential allies or foes. The air was thick with tension, and everyone held their breath, waiting for the next move. As the humans approached, Zorath stepped forward, flanked by his leaders. "We are willing to hear you out, but know that we will not be easily swayed. Speak your truth." Captain Miles nodded, his expression grave. "Thank you for hearing us. There is much to discuss, and time is running out." The two groups stood at a crossroads, their futures uncertain. Would they become allies, or would old animosities lead them into battle once more? The fate of their worlds now rested on the choices they would make together. The tension in the air was thick as Captain Miles finished explaining the urgent threat. The aliens listened carefully, their expressions a mix of skepticism and fear. Zorath, standing at the forefront, felt the weight of leadership pressing heavily on his shoulders. He knew that the decisions made in the next moments would shape the future of both their species. "The enemy is unlike anything you have faced before," Miles said, his voice steady. "They are a powerful race that seeks to conquer worlds and enslave all who stand in their way. We've encountered them before, and they will not hesitate to destroy you." Zorath nodded slowly, realizing the gravity of the situation. He glanced back at Kira, who looked worried. She had always been the voice of reason, and now her insight was needed more than ever. "Can we trust them?" Kira whispered, her eyes darting between the human leader and her own comrades. "We don't have a choice," Zorath replied, a sense of determination forming in his heart. "We must unite. If what they say is true, we are all in danger." As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the landscape, the aliens and humans began to discuss their strategies. They worked together, sharing technology and knowledge. For the first time, humans and aliens communicated openly, each side eager to learn from the other. Varek, who had been skeptical of the humans, found himself impressed by their technology. "Your weapons are advanced," he said, examining a human energy rifle. "But we have technology that can help us improve our defenses." Captain Miles nodded, grateful for the cooperation. "Together, we can create a formidable alliance. We need to combine our strengths to fight this common enemy." As they discussed tactics, the atmosphere shifted from fear to hope. Zorath began to see the potential in this alliance. They were no longer two separate races, but a united force ready to face the darkness that loomed on the horizon. Days turned into weeks as the two sides trained and prepared. They built new ships together, combining human technology with Zephyrien designs. The humans taught the aliens how to harness the power of their weapons more effectively, while the aliens shared their knowledge of space travel and navigation. During this time, friendships blossomed. Kira and a human engineer named Jake bonded over their shared interest in technology. They spent hours working side by side, laughing and learning from one another. Zorath noticed how the walls between their races began to crumble, replaced by a sense of unity. However, not everyone was convinced. Some Zephyrians were still wary of the humans. They had grown up hearing tales of human weaknesses and failures. Zorath faced challenges as he tried to maintain the trust and cooperation among his people. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Zorath called a meeting. "I understand your fears," he began, addressing his fellow Zephyrians. "But we have the chance to change our future. The humans have proven themselves willing to fight alongside us. We must stand together, or we will fall apart." As Zorath spoke, he could see the determination growing in the eyes of his people. They were starting to believe in this new alliance. With each passing day, they trained harder, and the lines between them blurred. Finally, the day of battle arrived. News came that the enemy fleet was approaching. The humans and Zephyrians gathered their forces, ready to defend their worlds. As they stood side by side, Zorath felt a surge of pride. They were no longer just aliens and humans, they were allies. As the enemy ships entered their orbit, the two fleets formed a united front. The Zephyrian ships glimmered in the starlight, while the human vessels buzzed with energy. They were ready to face whatever came their way. "Let's show them what we can do," Zorath shouted, his voice echoing through the comms. With a roar of engines and the firing of weapons, the battle began. Ships weaved through the stars, energy beams lighting up the dark void of space. The Zephyrians and humans fought fiercely, side by side, their shared determination fueling their strength. In the chaos of battle, Zorath spotted Miles across the command bridge, directing his troops with confidence. The trust that had formed between them was evident as they moved together, adapting and responding to the enemy's attacks. As the battle raged on, it became clear that their unity was their greatest weapon. The combined forces of the humans and Zephyrians overwhelmed the enemy, pushing them back into the depths of space. When the dust settled, both sides stood victorious. Cheers erupted throughout the fleet as they celebrated their triumph. Zorath and Miles exchanged a proud glance, knowing that they had forged something special, a new beginning for both their races. From that day forward, they vowed to protect each other and to work together, not just as allies in battle, but as friends. As the stars twinkled above, Zorath looked out at the vast universe, filled with endless possibilities. Together, they had turned a moment of fear into a future filled with hope.